It's Sunday again. It's Sunday again. So funny how quick time just melts away. Very cool. It's always good to make notes of things that happen. And today I've got 3 things on my mind that I wanted to talk about, and I hope I can remember them all, because it's not like I can pull up some notes and look at them here. So on one hand, one is a creative idea that is more Julia's idea than it is mine, but I thought it was just such a cool idea to have. And so here's the story. It is inspired by the fact that last week, I see time flies so fast I can't even remember. I think it was early this week, late last week, something like that. Julia bought one of those electronic robotic vacuum cleaners. In fact, a Eufy Robovac 30. Awesome thing. And in fact, we bought 2. So that's a kind of a funny story in itself. So she's been looking into this since, I believe, last year, because we have a tiled floor in our apartment, and because we live close to the beach, we have really thin kind of dust and sand particles that just come in all the time. It's just the fact of what happens when you live on the beach. It's just, it's a little bit dusty / grainy here all the time. And if you don't hoover at least 2-3 times a week, we walk barefoot usually, or I walk barefoot in our apartment, and there's just this residue underneath my feet. So I have to constantly brush them off in order to get rid of that if I go into bed or put my feet up or put shoes on, that sort of thing. So it's weird that it's just something that's been with us for such a long time. And hoovering, of course, we only do maybe twice a month or so, by which point it's just too late to do that, to just live, I wouldn't say dust free, but this is where these things really help. You going this way? No worries. Anything we can do for our fellow Segway people. Very nice. So she bought one of those, and then literally a day after it arrived, it came back on sale for an even better deal than she bought it for. So I think she bought it for about $260, and that was already very, very good for that model. And it came back on sale for $179, and it's so cool. We didn't do an unboxing video of it, but she thought, why don't we just buy a second one and just put it in the cupboard, and maybe if one breaks, we have another one. If we really like it so much, why don't we do it? And we can even bring the new one back and send it back within the 30-day return window and get the full money back, so we get the best thing. All kinds of thoughts. So we thought, let's buy another one, regardless of what we're going to do with it. So we find it's a bit like a pet, like an electronic pet that's with us now. Comes on at a predetermined time, does this random patterns, can be controlled via a little infrared remote control. So it's a cheaper version. It doesn't have the Wi-Fi connectivity, which totally fine with me. There comes a point where you go, yeah, that's just too much. And this is just awesome. We have a small apartment, 600-700 square foot or something. It's perfectly adequate for that. And no carpets. So we have a very, very good apartment for those types of robotic things. And the first thought I had about it, when I saw this little guy at work and maneuvering around corners and avoiding obstacles and all, I thought what's really cool about it is that all these 20-30 years ago, when the first Sony Aibo robots were introduced, this is now where we're reaping the benefits. It does take that long for these things to become useful, I guess. I mean, Aibo was a really nice, cute little dog, and they've recently released an update, so I'm glad he's not dead. But really what this was all about is a test in robotics, and some thing that was aware of its environment and react to it accordingly and would potentially learn from it. 20-30 years later, where are we today? That's quite impressive how much machine learning we have integrated into our society and how this works. And now we have these self-navigating machines, and they're not $5,000 anymore, they're not $1,000 anymore, they're less than $200. So that's kind of cool. That is just amazing for me to see that this has been integrated into society. So this is awesome. But anyway, aside from that aspect, which we could talk about literally for hours, of course, there is this whole other aspect of the cute little round thing that whizzes around autonomously in your apartment and does something useful, just does it by itself, some chore that we don't really want to do. So that's cool and cute in itself. And we've all seen so many videos of robotic vacuum cleaners on YouTube, cats riding them and all that. It's very entertaining. And not only do they get a lot of views, the fact remains that we're creative people, like all of us that hang out. We're all creative people. And the idea that Julia had was, why don't we make something along those lines of Lucas the Spider? That's an awesome story in itself, not just Lucas as a 3D character modeled and animated in Maya, but also the story behind it. A guy who does this in his spare time with the voice of his nephew and does stuff because he likes it, and that becomes a major success with 1 to 2 minute episodes, and there's only 20 of them or so on his channel, and they've got millions of subscribers. I mean, that is somewhat of a success story in and by itself, and I thought, you know, well done to you guys. This is just so cool. And inspired by that, Julia had this idea that, well, can't we make something like that in Blender perhaps, and have a story of a little robot vacuum that's now living with humans, and there's this whole thing of what he understands and what he does and what humans do and the obstacles he uncovers and discovers. And I mean, the stories you can dream up with are just like endless, including live footage that you can incorporate, and like you say, cats riding him and all kinds of things, the obstacles he encounters from this low level perspective there. That's all very cool, and you can just see where this is going. This is just one of those projects if you had the time and the knowledge, you could just really sink your teeth into that. So I just wanted to make a mental note of that, you know, this is an idea that Julia had, and let's not forget it. And maybe one day, if we have a lot of time, perhaps we can tackle this either by ourselves or collaboratively with a group of other like-minded people who are interested in doing that. Call it, I don't know, Robovac. That's probably a trademark name, but you know, something along those lines. And the star of the show is that little vacuum robot and the stories he just encounters on his daily travels through so many people's apartments. You know, much like Dreamlab and his gorilla story, you just see this one situation, gorilla who has a regular family, lives in society, and the stories he can come up with, just thinking about that, it's just, you know, it's just a writer's dream, really. You can, if you had the time, you could really sink your teeth into that. So I just wanted to make a mental note of that. Little robot vacuum cleaner stories, and it becoming viral on YouTube. You getting tons of cash and living in the Maldives or Miami Beach, in fact. Which is you know, mentally very close to that. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. And I could end the video right here, or I could just keep going, turn it into a second video. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to keep going because it's very related to what happened yesterday, where I thought about this when I did it. It was during the Subnautica stream, which is becoming more and more popular, and I really appreciate that that people find it entertaining. That's awesome. And but what I like more than that is the fact that we have this weekly gathering spot in which we can just hang in a safe environment. And I very much wanted to keep that way. I don't want this almost precious time that we have to be ruined by something unforeseen. So my point is that I casually gave out from a viewer request, do we have a Discord server? And I was thinking about it, and I thought, this could be tricky depending on who joins. I gave out the Discord link, and of course we had several people join, and of course it intruded our nice little family that we've built there on our private Discord server. I really like that system about Discord, that everything is invite only, and that you can't have people come in unless they go and get a link from you personally. But of course I gave it out, and disruptors joined the group, and thankfully Julia and Christina were very much on the ball and took care of extinguishing the fires as they sprung up. And needless to say, we've solved the issue. But I guess what I've learned from this is that it's really tricky to, this is difficult to put into words, but I'm thinking I really like to protect what we have there, and I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I've learned my lesson, and of course I will not give out that Discord link in any of the game streams anymore, even though some people may be suitable to joining our little clan that we've got there. I think protection is more important for me, and I won't do that again. So that is something that I've learned, and I apologize for that. I thought it might be cool and exciting, but it's not. And the reason why I did it is because once again my good-hearted nature and all that, we had somebody on the stream who was very generously offering to give away free Spotify invites, and I thought that's really nice. What a generous idea, assuming of course it was gonna be a legal thing. And of course it wasn't. So it's one of those things, if you were to do that as somebody who writes a video game and you wanted to give something away for free, then usually what happens is that you give away redeemable redeemable codes for which you can download the app or join a service for a set period of time and just, check out what it's like, or even give an annual membership or something away for free with these types of codes. So what he did instead was he DM'd me later and literally just sent me screenshots of random people's email addresses and passwords saying, hey, give those away, it's going to be awesome. And you think, yeah, that's not only borderline illegal, that's just a clear violation of Spotify's terms of service, really, isn't it? So yes, that is unfortunate, and I didn't think that that's what was gonna happen. Of course, I've learned another lesson there, thinking not everything is nice and dandy, and with a channel that keeps growing, you really can't afford to do things like that without getting penalized. So there we go. So I've learned my lesson there, and I guess that's what this is all about, this whole thing. It is a learning process, and sometimes these things happen, and I really don't like banning people like we had to do with one of the other viewers. It was kind of, again, thanks to my moderators for taking care of this, but I guess it is an aspect of running an online community that I just hadn't thought was going to be an aspect of it. I've never been a moderator, I've not been a big visitor of online communities, but it looks like that's what we've become. And as kind of the guy in charge of it, with zero experience of how to actually run it, not such a good start, is it? But it's important, I guess, that I learn these things, and also that I take measures before issues can spring up, and that we have mechanisms in place to fix things when leaks spring, so to say, like on our Cyclops when we get attacked by creatures.